Hello everyone, my name is Guilherme and welcome to another video. This is a good one because this is sort of a tutorial on how to get started with Cave Engine and create your first third-person moving character. So I'm here with Cave. We'll create a project from scratch and then import a model which I have here already in Blender. Yes, this is old Blender. I like it more, but anyways, it works with the new Blender too. Then we'll write some logic and I will show you how it works, how to get started and configure your project. So I'm here with the latest version of the engine, which at the moment that I'm recording this video, it's not available on itch.io, but I'm really thinking and considering to release this over my Patreon because that way I can really help everyone that is in it. And something very important is I'm working on a documentation for Cave. So I'm literally showing like your first time with Cave. I'll go ahead and show you how to install and run. And then I'll go to every single detail, every single tab and editor basics and all that for you to understand 100% on how it works, how to use the engine and how to make games with it. So this is a very complete documentation. As you can see, I do document every single component with examples. So this is a mesh component, then I go ahead and explain everything, how it works, how it internally works. Like the animation component, there's a very complicated, not complicated, but complete explanation here on how it works, because if you understand this, you will be able to make some more complex logics with it and so on, and you know, everything. I'm still working on it, so you can see there's a bunch of to-dos here, but something interesting about this documentation is that I do have the understanding the editor, engine and the player, which is a much more in-depth details on how the engine works and how this helps you to make games. So you can see diagrams on how it works internally. You can even see the main loop, everything that it does. So this is a very complete stuff, and I also explain the signaling, the functions and so on. So yeah, it is a complete thing. I'm writing it. It is still early on. It is already 50 pages long actually, but I want to document everything in this. So yeah, I'm thinking about that. Let me know in the comments if you are interested into learning Cave, enjoying the Patreon and then getting access to it early on and me helping you. So yeah, that's it. So with that, all that in mind, let's go ahead and jump to the goal of this video, which is create the basics, right? And I've made some videos about this before, but this time we will really create everything from scratch, because it turns out that if you write the entire logic yourself, you have much more control. So I, as the Cave developer, am moving like away from having everything done but not versatile at all, and moving towards the direction where like you can write everything if you want to and it's easy to write. So this is my idea. Anyways, I'll click here to create a new project. This is the project manager and I'll create the name, and then the name of this is kind of interesting. I'm making out the reason why I decided to make this video is I was about to start a new project in Cave, which is my Caveman Online game, an MMO game. Yes, I'm working on that. I've made already an MMO with Cave, and you can even see here, I do have like MMO client. This is the game release on itch. I've made it with Cave, and now it's time to do some very serious work and make an actual MMO, a big one. So I was about to start and to make everything. Let me actually, before I continue, let me select the path. If you click here, you are prompted to select the path. So I'll do this real quick. Here you go. So I've selected the folder here, and let me continue this. I was about to create this basics of the character moving, but then I realized, oh, it would be good if I create this in a video, so it serves as a tutorial for you or anyone interested into starting working with Cave. So I decided to do that. This is exactly what I'm doing. So let me go ahead and create a project. It's very easy to create stuff in Cave. You can see it is already ready to set up. This is not a basics like how to move around the engine, but how to get started with this. So I will jump this explanation. I do have other videos explaining how to move and navigate and select stuff. Anyway, so I do have that already. So I'll jump, skip this part again. And I will start by doing some organization here, because like the post-processing, there's a single one. I will right click and dissolve this folder. I don't need it. And I will also move the font inside the UI style, because I don't need this. I have the fonts, yeah. And actually rename this to interface. Nice. So this is a little bit better. And I'll put post-processing here. Post-processing, by the way, is like the effects applied to this. I have anti-aliasing, I have color corrections and ambient occlusion that I can adjust, can go ahead and change the brightness and everything. It works. Anyways, I'm not messing up with this just yet. We'll do this later. And then I'll right-click here and create a new folder, and I'll call this player. And I'll double-click this, and I'll right-click, and I will create a new entity template. An entity template in Cave is basically like an equivalent to Unity's prefab or Unreal's blueprint. So you can double click here. Let me actually rename this first to player. And what you can do is you can double click here and edit this to add some logic in it, which is great, right? But we need a model. We need to add the model to this in order to do something. So we need to import the model, which is very important, right? So go back to Blender and let's do some prep work here in order to export this to Cave, because Cave do have some very specific stuff, especially for animated character. There's a single rule at the moment, that is, you cannot have animated characters with multiple materials. So if you are, many people try to do this and then it doesn't work. It is a known limitation that Cave have at the moment. So the very first thing you need to do is make sure like the object you are trying to do, but this is only a requirement for animated models, not for regular models. So it's fine, okay? But you need to make sure that the model only have one animation, as you can, one material, as you can see here. If it does have multiple, this won't work. So I recommend you to bake them into a single image, so this will be able to work just fine, okay? So it's important to know that. And the other thing is I will select this, select all the meshes and press Ctrl T here in Blender to triangulate out the faces, because this helps with the importing process, okay? It's not like a necessarily a rule. It will work if you don't do this, but it may have some flaws due to how things work internally, not only in Cave, but in FPX in general. So it's good to do this, okay? And I have this model here. It does have like an idle animation and a bunch of other animations here, which is precisely what we want, right? So I will select the model, shift in this, and I will click File, and I'll do Export FBX. And then it is important that I go here and click Selected Object to only export what I've selected. And then I will select the file, and I will just put Caveman player. Something like that. I'll put a name, and I'll click Export FBX. Great, now I have my FBX, and everything I need to do in order to import this into the engine is to literally drag and drop the FBX to this. So I have the folder here, drag and drop, and it will work. If it doesn't work, just like it didn't at the moment, it's a known issue too, but just go ahead and make sure you have the main Cave window selected, and then you drag and drop, and it will work. By the way, you can right click here and go to import assets, and this will also work. Okay, so I have these import assets, and I can expand this to rename. And I'll put some naming here. Cave mesh. I have the animations. It's important that you make sure that you do not have special characters in the animation name. Mixam will add this this character here. I don't know the name of this. This one here. Oops. This one right here. It adds, you can see, and this won't work. I mean, it will work, but it will not gonna save your file, which is bad. So, and it will have a warning, say, hey, do not do this. So, you know, but it's important to remove this. So yes, I have all the animations here. Let me see the material. I'll put Cave material. I'm actually gonna call this player map, not Cave. Player mesh. Great. Level descriptor, I don't need this. This is like to describe the scene in Blender. I don't need in this case. And the armature, I need. Player armature. Great. So now I just click import assets. It will import and create a new folder for me. Let me just call this player mesh. And then if I open this, you can see that everything is here, is ready. Let me clear the console and ready to go, right? So let me go back here. I'll save this, Ctrl S, double click here to open the player template. And then in the entity here, I will first go to the properties and rename this a player. And I'll add a transform component to it, which is important. So I have a position. And then I right click and add a children, which is another empty. And this I'll call mesh. And the reason why I'm adding children is because I want the player and the player mesh to be two separate things. That way I can rotate the mesh into a different direction than the player is rotating and so on. It's good. So right click here. By the way, you can just drag and drop this. I'll do this. Yeah, it's fine. Drag and drop and it will work. Right, and then in the player mesh, you can see there's a mesh, but there's no animation. So if I right click and add a graphics animation here, I will be able to select an armature and animation. Let's try the idle. And as you can see, it is working just fine. I'm only missing the texture here. It's probably not located with the FBX. So let me actually go ahead and export this. So caveman tree, this is the texture. Image, save as image. Let me save this image. Go back to cave and drag and drop the image so it loads. And of course I need to select the player material. And in the albedo texture, I'll select this texture. Fine, now it works. I can change the metallic here and the roughness. It's fine here. Yeah. And I adjusted the settings here, but I will leave it as is for now. And one last thing that I would like to do, make sure, by the way, that the forward is this green axis, because we use this a lot. The green axis is the y-axis, so make sure the player is pointing at the correct axis. And one last thing, I'll select the player, right-click here, and I'll add a physics character collision. And then I'll go ahead and click here, draw debug physics so I can see the collision mesh. And then in the collision shape, I can offset this by 1. So it covers the character itself. And then the radius, I can reduce the radius a bit. Perfect. So this is my character. It does have a character component that will add physics. It does have a player mesh with animation and everything that we need. So that's fine. Let me go back. I will disable the debug physics and I will add one last thing to the player, not to the player mesh. Right click, add children, camera. I'll add a camera to it. Rotate this 180 degrees using Control to rotate. By the way, I'm manipulating this with W, I, and R on my keyboard. I move this up. I will open a camera preview here so I can see what is going on. This is probably good. And then I go ahead and right click camera controllers and add a third person controller. Then I can adjust the head offset so it points to the head. Yeah, it's good. Now if I go back to my scene, there's nothing here, but I can go to the player and drag and drop. Let me actually reload the thumbnail so it doesn't appear, but it's fine, because if I drag and drop, you can see that it will show here, which is great. Let me delete this and those lamps. I'll make this very simple. And I also click in the background and change probably the sun settings a little bit. You can see I do have some jittering. I believe this is due to the ambient occlusion. No, so it's due to the shadows. Alright, does have these artifacts. I tried to fix it, but I was not able to. It's probably like it's due to the biasing, but anyways, I will focus on the implementation of the logic because I will probably rewrite the rendering anyways. So if you're, depending on when you're seeing this video, I've probably already done that. So yeah, it's fine. In the meanwhile, I paused the video and actually moved the camera a little bit to the side, as you can see here, because it looks a little bit better in this view. And then if I go back to my scene in play, you can see the camera already works, and physics and everything, like the ground and the player. Now we need to make this move, right? It's important, very important. So let's create a script for that. It's fine, let's do it. I go ahead and right click here. Oh, I'll actually select this because we will be editing this, and it's more precisely the player. And I will right click, add a new logic Python component, and I'll click here to create a new script. The component name will be player, create script. You can see that it created and already have this for us to edit. So it's here, we can do. Now let's start writing some code. And by the way, Cave Engine provides an API for you. So if we go ahead here, open engine in Explorer, it will open the engine folder. Let me actually just show another engine folder because the one that I have here does have the debugging stuff, so it will not going to be equal. This one is equal to what you expect. And if you click here inside the editor and then stubs, you will find a bunch of stubs for Python. So if you right click this and open in Visual Studio Code, for example, you will be able to have all that. And if you click here, you can see, so cave dot everything here. So all the classes, literally everything, the entire API is documented here. So hey, what can I do with the entity? You can go ahead and search for class entity, and then you can see it does have those three properties and all these functions. Great. What about the component? What about the component I just created? So let's Ctrl F, class component. You can see that I do have all that. So for example, I can get the entity. Fine. I believe I can also just simply do entity. I'm not sure why it's not documented here, but I can. Like this. So it's fine. And in the entity, I'm not gonna go back to this and show everything here. I'm just teaching how to get, for example, let's say I want to get a transform, or the character component, which is more important in this case. So self.character, how to get the character component from the entity. So I know this is the entity, how to get it. I can search for class entity, and then I will look here and try to find the functions that make sense to me. In this case, it's the get, and I can pass like a component name, and it will try to get this component. You can see it returns a component. Again, this is not like, the stub is not a tutorial, it's just a reference. So if it's in the stub, you can use it. And I'm teaching you here how to get the character. If I go back and play the game, you can see there's no errors because this works. Great, right? And why did I get the character? Because the character does have some move functions. So if I do self.character.move, I'm actually showing the stubs. Class character, if I can type, you can see character component. I have all that available to me, and I do have a move. Where's the move? I don't. I have the set walk direction. And this sets a walk direction for the character, right? The reason why I was typing move is because the transform does have a move. Character doesn't. Let's do this. You can see that the player disappeared because it is moving and it is very fast. Let's try 0.01. You can see the player is already moving forward. What I just need to do now is to recognize inputs and make them work accordingly. So and I probably said that the forward is the y-axis. It's not true, it's the z-axis. Sorry. Events.active cave.event.key w. This is w. Now do the same for the s. This is a quick and dirty trick to get a movement out of the events, and I really like this. So I always do it like that. By the way, how do I know the keys? It's here in the stubs. Event, you can see all the keys are here. So you know it's cave, events, and you have all that. Right. Anyways, let's keep moving. I'll turn this into a vector now. Not necessary, but I like to turn this into a cave vector 3. Why? Because if I do if vac.length is different than 0, I can do vac equal to vac.normalize. I can normalize this vector so it does not go faster on diagonals, right? I can also set here a speed, so self.walk speed and self.run speed. And then I can do speed equals to self.walk speed. But if events.active cave.event.key underline left shift. So if I'm holding shift, then I want to run. Something like that. And then a character direction, if I'm not mistaken, I can just pass a vector here times the speed, and it will work. If not, I need to get individual ones. Oops, you can see there's an error here. Lack is not defined. Class player entity, this is the script. I like to call this player.py, just make it easier. Where's the mistake? Oh, lack. And you can see it's working, but probably not how you want. Because the D is inverted. Huh. Oh, SPAD. That's why it was not running. Alright, now it is walking and running. Probably very fast, so I may need to make this slower. I also may need to multiply this with delta time. Time escape.get delta time. Now it's probably going to be very slow. Yeah. So let's make it walk with 2 meters per second and run with 4 meters per second. Let's see if this works. Yeah, sounds better. And as you can see, I'm multiplying this by delta time, which is important. If I press, one last thing that I would like to do this here is make this jump. So if events.pressed, notice that I'm not using active, I'm using pressed this time. Key underline space. I can just do character dot jump, and it will work. Whee! It's probably too high. If I select here to edit the character template and go to character character physics. Can see jump speed. So let's reduce this a lot. Play. Yeah, that's better. And then, of course, if you want it to jump and fall faster, what you can do is increase the jump speed, but also increase the gravity, the fall gravity, because then it will jump and fall faster. Anyways, nice. This is exactly, precisely what you want. Very nice. Now we need to make this, the child, which is the player mesh, move towards the direction and execute the following script. So I need to get the player mesh here. So just do self.armature. I'll call this armature because I like to call it, but you can call it whatever you want. .get child player mesh. And I also get the animation component for the armature. And I like to call this animator. You can omit the component, by the way, but this also works, animation component. Which is the name that it is literally right in here, animation, and Python name animation component, as you can see right here. But you can omit the component and it will work. Same for the other components. So if this, what I can do is gap the armature transform to self.armature trans, which is a transform dot self.armature. By the way, I can do this and it will work, but since transform is something that we really use, Cave Engine actually caches that for you. So you can do get transform to do this easily. Okay, that's good. Now let's do this. Let's go ahead and make this move towards this direction. And I will probably it's fine. I'll just get the let me get the transform for the entity itself. And then here in the update, I will do self.armature transform dot. Let me see if I know how, if I still know how to do this. Look at self.transform.rotate vector back. Let's see if I can still do this, if I'm still worth it. I believe this API will work. Let's see. I'm curious now. Yep, it does work out of the box. Great. But you can see this is wrong. It is looking towards the wrong direction, which is not good. And the other problem is it is also looking too fast. What I'm doing now that it works, let me explain to you. It's important. So I'm getting the armature transform, which is basically we have like the player, and then we have the player mesh, and then this player mesh have a transform, and I'm getting this. And then what I'm doing, if look at, is I'm making this look towards the vector that we are currently using to move this. But this vector is local, so we need to transform to rotate this to consider the player rotation. So this is why we are actually doing this. To fix the first issue, which is like the player looking to the wrong direction, we just need to negate this vector, minus vec, it will probably work. Yep. And then to make this look at smooth, what you can do is use another function called look at smooth. Let's see if I can do this too. And I'll pass this, how smooth I want this to be here. So let's try to play the game now. And as you can see, it is looking smooth. Great, right. Nice. Nice. Now, what you can do here now is to, we need to worry is to play the animation. So let's go ahead and create another function here. call anim. And the default is going to be p_idle, which is the idle animation that we are seeing here. The name is probably here, p_idle. So I need to figure out if I want the walk one or the running animation. And I know for sure by default that if I'm not running, I'm walking, and if the length is not 0, it is walking. So I'll do this. And if I'm running, of course, great. One last thing that I need to do is to see if the character is on ground. If not, self.character.onGround. I need to set my anim to p_fall, which is the fall animation. Here we go. Let me actually rename this to run because it's easier to type. It makes more sense. And last but not least, I need to play this animation. I'm not sure if I know how to play, if I still know how to play, but it's probably play anim, stuff like that. Let's see in the API. That's why it's here. Class animation component. Here we go. This is the correct one. I have the play, which is correct. Receives the animation. Great. Oh, I need to play by name, as you can see here. The play receives an animation. This is not gonna work. But if I play by name, I can pass a string. Great. Then I can blend the animation and define the layer. And if I want this to loop or not. So great. Let's change this. Play by name. The blend, I like to do 0.2 out of the blend, which is in seconds, by the way. Layer 0, and I want this to loop. Let's see if there's other stuff. Priority, good. I'm not gonna set this. This one is fine. So now, if I play, I have an error. Why? Entity, no attribute. So I'm probably using the wrong thing. Not armature, animator. Great. Yep. But it is not working, like the jumping is not working. Interesting. Let's see why. Maybe the character on ground is not working. It is working, as you can see here below. If I jump, it changed. So what is probably not working? Oh, I have a white space after the name. You can see here I have a white space. Pressing. Now it should work. Yep. So as you can see, very easily we have the character walking, running, and jumping. How cool is that? I feel like it is running way too slow for this animation. Maybe what I can do is get the handle. This is new, this is advanced for you. Now I'm not doing this. I will edit the animation itself. What is the run? Player run. I have the speed here, 60 frames per second. Let me put 30 frames a second. Oh, that's too slow motion. Try 50 frames, 45. Yeah, that's better. It is moving slower. Nice. Very nice, very nice. Um, yeah, I think that's it. This is like a basic. I'm trying to think what I can do here, other than reduce the amount of time it takes to lerp. But I believe all the rest is basically implementation details, because we have the basics here ready to go, and now we can start making games, right? How cool is that? Yeah. So folks, that's it for this video. I think it's a great introduction to Cave. We can add much more stuff here, but I believe that now we get the basics on how it works, and you can extend this to make your games and whatever you want. And so yeah, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I see you in the next video. Bye!